everyone. Coming to you as usual from downtown Denver. It is a beautiful day here, so I have my window open and fans on, so hopefully it won't be too much of background noise, too much loud background noise. As always, I'm going to just take a moment to share this from the Ensoma page to my personal page, so just to give me a second here. And while I'm doing this, I've been trying to figure out, when I go live, we always schedule these ahead of time and so that you know and get reminders that they're coming up. However, when I'm using my phone, as I am now, to go live from, for some reason, I haven't been able to figure out how to actually use the scheduled post to go live from my phone at the scheduled time. It always creates a new one. So if anyone who uses Facebook live videos, and particularly if you, so it may be a very specific set of circumstances that we're using it from a business page, so from Ensoma's page, and we schedule it ahead of time and then go live from an iPhone. So if anyone else does that and has had any success in terms of figuring out how to actually use your scheduled post as your go live post, I would love to hear from you, because it is something both my business partner Mark and I have spent a little bit of time trying to figure out, and there doesn't seem to be a way from what we can tell. Okay, let me just share this. And there we go. And today, in addition to having the windows open, and Mark, since you're watching live, do let me know if there's any problem with the audio. I mentioned a moment ago I do have a fan on and the window's open, so if anything seems to be too loud or there's too much background noise, let me know. I've also got a lovely glass of homemade kombucha here. It's one of my latest projects. I've been fermenting and making things, so I have this. I have some homemade yogurt as well, so it's just been a fun little experiment. So hopefully this is the first one, the first batch is done today. It came out pretty good. And if Jenny watches this one, I'll save a bottle for you, because I know that you like this. Okay, so this concept I wanted to talk about today is a little bit heady. The technical name for it is metacognition, and you're probably familiar with the word meta, meaning, you know, above and kind of a broader sense. So this is, as I said in the title, thinking about thinking. And it's similar to self-awareness, but it actually helps us make better decisions if we are aware of how good we are at thinking and making decisions. So metacognition is something that will help you identify not only your limitations, but your strengths as well. For example, if you're learning a new skill, if you're learning to ride a bike, you need to know when to take the training wheels off. And sure, one way to do it is just take the wheels off every single time you ride it and see what happens. Oh, my base looks like it's glowing in the background. Wow, just the time of day. I guess the sun is hitting it. So, sorry, I digress. It just caught my attention. So at any rate, let's use that example. You're learning to ride a bicycle and you're starting with training wheels. Yes, every single time you ride it, you could try taking the training wheels off and seeing if you succeed or fall or how that goes. That's probably not the most fun or the most efficient or effective way to go about learning to ride a bike. However, if you have good metacognition about your performance, so meaning you can think about and evaluate your ability to ride that bike, then you'll know when to take the training wheels off. You'll know, okay, they barely touch the ground when I'm riding, and I think I'm feeling confident and I'm feeling stable on this. So that's a much more effective way to learn to ride a bike, is if you have a high level of awareness of your performance, while riding that you can then decide, I'm ready to take the training wheels off. Now, where does this kind of come into the idea of a metacognition skill? If you are underconfident in your ability to make decisions about your physical, in this case, physical performance, then you may leave those training wheels on way longer than you need to, and you're actually holding yourself back from progressing to bigger and bigger goals that you might have. So since you're probably planning on going from learning to ride a bike to winning the Tour de France, then you might delay yourself from being able to do that. If you're overconfident in your ability and your assessment of your ability, then you run the risk also of doing it too soon, falling over, getting hurt, having to put the training wheels back on, and it also can then lead you to be a bit discouraged. So the idea that you can think about thinking, you can think about your performance, you're not thinking about actually riding the bike, but you can develop the skill to be able to more accurately assess your abilities. And this certainly ties into moving forward into mastery. I've talked about mastery in one of my other Facebook Live videos, that it's the idea of working on something that's important to you little by little, with the idea of setting small steps as your goals and your achievements, as you get intrinsic motivation and joy from progressing on this skill. Well, the idea of metacognition, being able to self-assess how well you've done something, how good your decisions are, is a key to gaining mastery. And we may never actually gain, how do you ever actually fully master something? But it's a key to progressing towards mastery much quicker. So they've actually studied where this metacognition happens in the brain, and it's in the prefrontal cortex. And some people sort of naturally have the ability to be better at assessing their decision-making skills. So you don't want to become known as a bad decision maker, and that's where if you can, well, I would hope you don't want to. I don't know, maybe you do. Maybe that's your thing. In fact, some of those bad decision makers are very entertaining people to be around. But let's assume, for the sake of this Facebook Live, that you don't want to become known as a bad decision maker. The idea of training your metacognition skills, you're thinking about thinking, you are able to assess, do I make good decisions or not? If you can improve this skill, then you can learn to course correct, and that might be learning to gather more information, learning to surround yourself with experts, learning to use surrogates to help make important decisions in different situations. So if you can be honest with yourself about, am I confident that when I make a decision, any decision, it is going to be correct 80% of the time, whatever that is. So introspection, meditation, these are both great ways for gaining this sort of insight. And for example, another example of this is if you were cooking dinner for your friends and you were an inexperienced cook and you were trying out a new recipe. Oh, there's a little floaty thing going in front of the camera. That's nice. It's from the trees. A bad idea might be to invite 12 people over to serve them dinner with new recipes that you've never tried before and you don't really know how to cook. Now, a person with poor metacognition would come up with that idea and just go, hey, that sounds great. I'm going to throw a dinner party because that'll be fun and fabulous and my friends will be here and we're all going to... And no big surprise when things get burned, dishes don't come out correctly, and so on and so forth. So a person with good metacognition would say, geez, I haven't tried this yet. I may want to question my decision. Now, they may not even say, I think it's a bad idea. And that's what's different about this than saying, is this a good decision or not? This person might say, you know, I've made these decisions in the past and things have gone poorly. Things have gotten burned, things have, sorry, I know my mic is under here, so my apologies if it's getting rubbed around a little bit. I'm not sure if this is a good decision or not. So let me call up my friend who throws dinner parties on a regular basis and talk it through and ask her. So that awareness, my point is metacognition does not make you a good or a bad decision maker. It just makes you aware of the fact that you may or may not be great at thinking through all the variables, at seeing how you're making these decisions, seeing, you know, awareness of what you're thinking through as you make these decisions. So by calling that friend, it may be that she or he says, hey, this is something that I can talk you through, and here's all the different variables and factors and things that can go wrong. And they can either be a surrogate decision maker for you, or at least help you become more aware of the process of making this decision. So one of the things that I wanted to mention, and that I think is super interesting, is that for alcoholics, for example, they have found that the area in the brain that helps us think about thinking, about metacognition, is frequently eroded. And also for drug addicts, certain drugs, this is the situation too. So they have trouble, and we tend to, like I said, think of this as like self-awareness, but if you do have damage to this area of your brain for one reason or another, it's not that you're necessarily in denial, it's just that you can't think at a higher level about the impact, about your decision making, and about the consequences of it. So many alcoholics may not even think they have a problem, and that's not necessarily just because they're trying to be stubborn, it's because this higher level thinking function has eroded. Whether this is you or not because you're an alcoholic necessarily, but if you struggle with this area, for example, you may know, I'm bad at remembering to pay the rent, and I know that I'm bad. So this is the metacognition. I know that I'm bad at doing this particular task. So I'm going to write myself a note and remember to do that tomorrow. So that's actually, you might still be, you know, not a bad decision maker, but flaky about paying your rent. But if you have good metacognition, then you're aware of that and you can create systems and reminders for it. The other type of metacognition is perceptive. So we talked a little bit about physical with the bike riding. We talked a little bit about decision making and wanting to, you know, making a bad choice to have a dinner party if you don't know how to cook, and having somebody help you think through that. The third type of metacognition is perception metacognition. And that is, how much do you trust what you've just seen? So maybe you see a particular bird and it looks like a rare bird and that nobody has seen in 100 years. Are you confident that that's what you saw? Or maybe it was just a sparrow that we see every day. And some people have much more confidence in their visual acuity, in their meta, you know, their perceptive cognition, and they'll say, yes, that was definitely that rare sparrow. We should get National Geographic in here. I'm certain of it. I know what I saw. Another person might say, you know, I'm just not sure. I think it was. And that's a very low level of metacognitive ability, like when it comes to perception, that you're just always second guessing yourself and you're not sure if you can really trust what you believe you saw. So consciously recognizing your own abilities to perceive, to act, and to decision make are three different types of metacognitive abilities. How can you improve these? Well, there have been studies done that show that meditation actually helps activate and grow that area. And I'm saying grow in terms of more neuronal connections and such. It's not like you're going to have a big head growing out here, but that area of your brain. So even if you're just meditating 5 minutes a day, that induces what's called neuroplasticity in those brain circuits that really can help you become better at recognizing where you're good at making decisions and are you good at perceiving certain things. So reflecting on your previous day, or reflecting on what you have coming up, and just letting it marinate, letting it roll around a little bit, and just sort of seeing where it goes, that is just enough. You don't have to do a specific guided meditation even. So take 5, 10 minutes, 15 if you can. I usually try to meditate about 15 to 20 minutes each morning, and I find a big difference in my day when I do or I don't. I'd rather meditate for 5 minutes if that's all I have than not at all. The other way you can improve these skills, these metacognitive skills, is if you have learned something new, like maybe from this Facebook Live today. If you wait a few hours, so at least an hour, better off 3, and then write down a handful of words, 3 to 5 words, of what you took away from it, what your impression was, that, hi motorcycles, that will actually improve your metacognitive accuracy. It will also help you learn that topic, but when you're forcing that part of your brain to recall and summarize what you've learned and actually write it down, that activates those same circuits. Kind of a weird correlation, but the studies, the science shows that that is the case. So do that even if you're not particularly concerned about learning the topic, just to exercise that part of your brain. It takes a couple of hours though for the information to be stored. We have, as you probably know, we have different types of memory storage in our head, short term. That's why you can get all different kinds of amnesia. So that's where that gap comes in, that you have to wait for a little bit. So that's it for today's topic. I wanted to mention to you one of my favorite magazines that I have here, and this is where I pull some of my thoughts. A few people have asked me, where do I get my ideas for these Facebook Lives, and the answer is all over the place, but this is something that I do like, Scientific American Mind, and they have all kinds of very approachable studies in here. This one has about the psychology of success. These are old issues that I have here from a couple of years ago. This one is a great issue about burnout. So really great stuff. Check out their website. They do not sponsor me or anything. I'm just mentioning it since a few people had asked me in the past where I get some of my ideas and information. I hope you all have a great weekend. I'll be back here same time next week, and more information about leadership. So today it had to do about being a good leader in terms of decision making and being able to trust your own leadership and your own perception of things and abilities, and how to improve that metacognitive area to be able to do that. So this month is all about leadership, strength, and power. And I will always do my best to post on Tuesdays what the topic will be for Thursday, so you can check that out and decide if you want to join me. Thanks again, and it's great to see you. And Dennis and Doug and Mark, really great to see all 3 of you pop in live today. Take care, everyone. Bye.